made a lot of sense to me.
So we have to sign it.
That's where
I can see it.
Thing that goes up there.
Let me go back and do it again.
And sometimes.
even better.
Oh, that does.
It looks clear. How about now? Stacy, volume. Okay. The cameras are clear. Is it new?
There wouldn't be a thing.
And the sound system too? You were right. Yes. It looks so good. I can see ourselves.
I'm a little excited about that.
I liked it when it was fuzzy.
It doesn't quite show us all the way.
Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you coming out this evening. Hope everybody was able to get out and enjoy the beautiful day that we had. And appreciate you taking time to come down here tonight. We're going to start with our special guest, which we like to do. I've got Manuela Parada. Now, I actually know her as Andrea, but she is a junior at Shawnee High School. She's a tennis player. And what else can we tell them? She's the daughter of Isela and Ernesto Parada. She is also my grandson Isaiah's girlfriend. We have made it very clear to both of them that if they were to break up, we're going to keep her. So she's a very good young lady, and she's going to open our meeting tonight. So I'm going to get this out of the way so they don't get whacked.
All right. Esta reunión al orden. I call this meeting to order.
Thank you, ma'am.
She's also a Gordon Cooper Health Career student. Most important.
Okay, let's call roll. Boy, this is better. Holy cow. Yeah, let's call roll.
Here.
Here.
Oatmeal,
Present.
Holt,
Here.
Bittner,
Here.
Seymour,
Here.
Richter,
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we will do our invocation, and we have Pastor Gerardin Sabimana from Wesley United Methodist Church, who's been kind enough to come in and do that for us this evening.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this city of Shawnee. We thank you for the many ways you have called each one of us to come and be part of this community. We thank you for those who lead us, and we thank you for the ways we have leaders who can succeed one another in peace. God, we thank you for what Mayor Bolt has done for this community. We thank you for what Commissioner Ingalls has done as well, as we welcome the new mayor, as well as the new commissioner. We place them in your hand, Lord. It's only you whose reign never ends. Everyone who comes to serve, their term will come to end. But help us, Lord, to support our leaders so that everyone who is a part of Shawnee can indeed come to appreciate the hard work done by our leaders. We pray above all in the name of Jesus Christ, whose reign is for eternity. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And to do our flag salute, I've asked a veteran to come forward and do that for us tonight. So Carrie Keck is a, why don't you tell us about your service, because I don't want to get it wrong. But you spent many years in the military, and
Well, first of all, Mayor Bolt, I would like to say thank you so much for your service to this community, the 4 years that you spent and poured your heart and soul into being a part of this community and leading this community. I appreciate very much what you and Phyllis and your family did for this community. It was my privilege to serve our country in the Army for 23 years, and it is my honor to be here tonight to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So,
Thank you.
everyone, please face the flag as you're able. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 1 is citizens' participation. So same rules as always. Jamie, did we get any more? We're good? Okay, very good. I want to make sure we didn't leave anybody out. So same rules as always, 3 minutes per person, 12 per topic. Our city attorney will keep time for us. So first up, Phil Solinger. Did I say that right?
Yes, I was just signed in, sir. I have nothing to say.
Okay, well, thank you, and we all know you're here, so.
I am very pleased. I'm
Boy,
from
come-
the city of McLeod,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm also the vice chair for the Potawatomi County Republican Party. And I'm very pleased that I've supported Eric. It's going to be a very good thing for the city of Shawnee.
Okay,
God
thank
bless
you.
y'all.
Thank you very much. Next is David Dinsmore.
Get my timer started here. All right, my name is David Dinsmore. I'm a resident here. I've been lived here in the area about 13 years, 10 years in town here. I'm here in a couple different capacities. One, I'm a family man. My father born and raised my kids here, so this has always been home for them. A couple years ago, we had a chance to maybe follow a different path career-wise, but we decided it was more important to stay where we built a community, and so we love living here. Another kind of job that I have in the community is to tell good stories about good people doing good things. I do that every month, and I'm never short of material to write about, and I appreciate that. In that vein, I also serve on a committee with Potawatomi Go, and they are all about hashtag tell me something good. So I told them that I could come tonight and tell something good. And I'm always telling stories about like that. So I moved my mother-in-law here about 8 years ago. I moved my folks here into the area about a year ago because I'm always going on about all the stuff we got going on. I take my niece and nephew who live in Dallas to our parks, and they wish they had parks like that near them. I took some friends of ours this summer to the pool, and his daughter wanted to move here just so she could live at the pool. I didn't tell her it closed 2 weeks after they were here. Just gonna keep that on the down low. And one of the things I do every month when I'm telling these stories, I put together the events calendar that comes out, and I just like to see all the different things we have going on in the community. There's just so many things to go out and do and get involved with. Some of the stuff I'm excited about coming up is the Pedal Palooza, and that is like a bike festival that Pogo is going to be doing over at OBU on September 28th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. All things bicycles. My kid loves getting out on his bike, like the Little Rascals. He and some friends just ride around the neighborhood, just all over the place. So it's going to be a bike parade. And they're going to focus on some bike safety and just how it kind of connects you to the world around you. Anyone who rides a motorcycle could tell you it's a totally different experience riding through an area where you're feeling the wind and smells and this everything than being trapped in a box like in your car flying 45 miles an hour from point A to point B. So that's going on. There's also Groove Around the Globe going on right now. So if wheels aren't your thing, when you want to get on your feet or however you want to get around, you can form a team of 10, compete with other teams in the community. The goal is try to get all teams to work toward walking all the way around the planet between now and the end of October. So looking forward to enjoying the weather here coming up in the next month and a half doing that. And then another thing that I work with is the Rookie League Foundation at the Oklahoma City AAA team there. They're actually trying to do more out in the community. October 5th, they're going to be doing a play ball clinic. It's going to be a free event for all kids 4 to 18 to sign up October 5th, 10 a.m. at OBU as well. Just go out, have some fun, get to know each other, and play the game. So kind of excited about the things we got going on and keep it going. So you guys have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up we have Lacey Holt. Nope, I know you probably have a part later on. Okay, very good. Thank you, Lacey. Good to see you. Next is Rob Morris. How are you, Rob?
Pretty good. Tonight, before everybody leaves office, would y'all please, and Mr. Mayor, would you please thank Ryan Harkins for the CDBG grant? It's been changed where it's only owner-occupied people, so landlords don't get the benefit. It's only the people that live in their homes, and that's a big deal, because that means that only those folks get the benefit. So good deal, and thank you to him for that. Next, I'm going to do this next month too, but the principal financial disclosures, they're required by the State Ethics Commission. You can look them up. Next month, I hope everyone has them turned in. I'm going to be fair, just like I was last time. Anyone that doesn't get them turned in, I will just read everything off here, and we'll be done with it like last time. Because, Mr. Mayor, could you explain why we still have commissioners that in the 4 years they've been on the commission have not turned in that financial disclosure still to this day? And why they're special and the rest of everybody else has to follow the rules. Can you explain that one for us? Lastly, I'd like to congratulate the new mayor, and I'd also like to congratulate, now that everybody's here, even though some of them are behind me, all the new commissioners too. It's going to be great to finally see what Shawnee can really do when your ward picks you and not just a certain part of town. So I look forward to seeing what every one of y'all can do. I'll offer my help to anyone that wants it. I'm a text message, a phone call, whatever way. Not a big deal. I don't mind helping. I just want what's best for Shawnee. So with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Cindy Berger. How are you, Cindy?
Good. I just wanted to say a few things since we do have a new commission coming in, new mayor. I'm excited that there's a whole new start, and so I just wanted to say a few things and a couple of hopes that I have for the new commission coming in. I've been doing a lot of research on the various boards and staff members and the planning commissions and all of the other entities that are partnered with the city to perform the duties and services provided by the city. And I just keep seeing the same types of connections over and over again, same families, same backgrounds, and I just wonder, where are the regular people and where's their voice? Bank managers, hospital administrators, attorneys, corporate business owners, and CEOs do not make up the majority of the Shawnee population. And so why they seem to be the only opinions accepted and considered when it comes to planning the future of Shawnee. I would also like to ask that more people be included that don't come from these elite backgrounds or have a high social status, as there are a lot of people in this community that do not come from that background and would have really great ideas and good input to be heard for our city and where we want to take it as citizens. Also, I would like, speaking of those types of departments, our Shawnee Forward Board, I would like to ask that our superintendent of public schools be suspended from being on that board, participating, having any information, as he's under investigation by the Department of Education right now. So I would ask that he be as well considered to be out of that planning loop for Shawnee Forward as well until that investigation is complete. Finally, with the new commission and mayor, I would like to ask for a big change in transparency, especially with the information provided to citizens. I have a really hard time finding information, and when I'm told to come to the meetings and everything will be answered, and I've been coming to the meetings, the problem is getting that, again, I've said it before, is getting what's on the agenda just a few days before. It doesn't give anyone time to ask their commissioner questions. It doesn't give anyone to have any input other than whoever's been involved in the planning process, period. So please consider real citizens. Please consider people from lower social classes to be on your boards and have some input. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other names on here. So we will move on to item 2, which is consider approval of the minutes from the August 14, 2024 special call meeting and the August 19, 2024 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
So Daniel and Ashley, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 2. We will call the question. And motion passes 7-0. With that, we'll recess the City Commission meeting to convene the Shawnee Airport Authority, the Shawnee Municipal Airport, municipal authorities. So we'll let everybody sign out of this meeting. Everybody get in okay? Get in and out all right? There you go. Okay. Yes, ma'am. No, you take your time. Where you will get out.
I thought it was my first
Get him
time.
in. Yeah, sometimes it can be kind of tricky. Man, I never thought I'd say this, but that was loud. As soon as I find my place here. Okay, item 1 on the Airport Authority agenda is consider approval of the minutes from the August 19, 2024 regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
did we call to order the meeting and declare, did we call the Airport Authority meeting to order?
yes.
We did.
I thought we did, but if we haven't, just so to clarify, we have called it to order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. So item 1 is consider approval of the minutes from the August 19, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
So Lauren and Daniel, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. And we had 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. Item 2, I'm sorry, we'll recess to convene the Shawnee Municipal Authority. So we will leave this meeting. You will get in and out? Okay, everybody good? Everybody good down this end? See everybody nodding, so we're good. So we are now in the Shawnee Airport Authority. I'm sorry, the Municipal Authority. So item 1 is consider approval of the minutes from the August 19, 2024 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Daniel and Ashley. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. And motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. So now we will we will recess to convene. I think it should be that we're going back to the city commission meeting, because I think on mine it says municipal authority, but, so we will go back to the regular city commission meeting. Everybody get back in okay? I see everybody nodding. So we're back to the city commission meeting. Item 3 is consider A resolution expressing appreciation to Cami Ingalls as Commissioner of Ward 2 of the City of Shawnee. And we need a motion on this, actually.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3.
I'll second.
Daniel and Mark, we have a motion and a second, so Joe, it's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution expressing appreciation for the outstanding service of Cami Ingalls as Commissioner of Ward 2 of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing that said resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and providing that a copy hereof be presented to the said Cami Ingalls.
All righty. Cami, you want to go down front?
We got to vote, Mr. Mayor, we have to vote first.
I'm sorry, we better. Let's do that. We have a motion and a second. You'll call the question. Motion passes 6 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. Do you want us to do both of these at once? Is that the plan? Okay. Item 4, consider a resolution expressing appreciation to Ed Bolt as Commissioner of Ward 1 and Mayor of the City of Shawnee. And again, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Sir, Mark and Cammie, and Joe, it's your turn again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution expressing appreciation for the outstanding service of Ed Bolt as Commissioner of Ward 1 and Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing that said resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and providing that a copy hereof be presented to the said Ed Bolt.
All righty, so item 5, presentation of resolutions of appreciation to Commissioner Cammie Ingalls and Mayor Ed Bolt.
Vote first.
Oh, man, I'm missing a, let's vote. Forget we always vote on those. There we go. Takes a long time to get from there to there. Okay, motion passes 7-0. And now we are up to item 5, presentation of resolutions of appreciation to Commissioner Cammie Ingalls and Mayor Ed Bolt. So we will go down front. Looks like, Daniel, you're joining us. Okay, we have resolution number 6750, a resolution expressing appreciation for the outstanding service of Cammie Ingalls as Commissioner of Ward 2 of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing that said resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing that a copy hereof be presented to said Cammie Ingalls. Whereas Cammie Ingalls served the City of Shawnee as Commissioner of Ward 2 from October 4, 2021 through September 16, 2024. And whereas said Cammie Ingalls has demonstrated to be a person of upright character, a good citizen, a friend to many, and a worthy representative of the City of Shawnee. And whereas said Cammie Ingalls has helped make many important decisions affecting thousands of lives in this community by taking a positive approach to the many projects set forth before her, lending her mature judgment and experience to those decisions, all the while maintaining a level of unsurpassed integrity. And whereas she has been instrumental in the accomplishments of the city that include economic and cultural development, public safety, ongoing street improvement programs, and beautification of the community. And whereas it is both fitting and proper for this governing body to officially recognize the said Tammy Ingalls for her dedicated performance of the duties and responsibilities as a member of the Board of Commissioners. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and that they hereby express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Tammy Ingalls for her distinguished service to the City of Shawnee. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and that a copy thereof be presented to Tammy Ingalls with the desire that she shall continue to contribute her talents and energy to the betterment of the city, and that she shall enjoy much happiness, good health, and good fortune in the years to come. Passed and approved this 16th day of September 2024. So, please, thank you so much for
I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. This has been a great honor in my life, an unexpected venture for me, never thinking I would be in politics, and one thing kind of led to another. It was a great honor to serve the community. I love Shawnee. I'm not going anywhere. My husband and I have moved to a peaceful place in the country. We have some land. I'm looking forward to this next chapter in my life. Still have the businesses in town. And I just wanted to say, we have an incredible staff and group of people, an incredible group of people that serve on the commission. Everyone has a really good heart, I believe. I have a lot of respect for Greta coming in to fill the work to see it and know it can be left in great hands. I would like to wish the new mayor, Eric, and also Greta luck, as well as our newest commissioners. And I've really enjoyed serving with you all, even the new people for a couple of weeks. The staff that we have here is so incredible. A lot of the times, the elected officials can get credit for anything positive that happens, or can take the heat for anything negative that happens. I just want to say that, yes, we don't all agree on everything and how we should arrive at things all the time, but we have an incredible staff that I believe leads the city with integrity. There's so many wonderful department heads that lead each of their different areas with a lot of expertise, and we're really lucky to have the people we have on staff here who do really all of the work. And we get a lot of the credit once it goes well. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you that serve on the staff. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and to work with you all. So with that, I would just like to say thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and thank you all for making it so wonderful to serve the community. Okay. Thank you.
Resolution number 6751, a resolution expressing appreciation for the outstanding service of Ed Volk as Commissioner of Ward 1 and Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma. Providing that the said resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and providing that copy hereof be presented to the said Ed Volk. Whereas Ed Volk served as the City of Shawnee as Commissioner of Ward 1 from July 16, 2018 through July 6, 2020. Whereas Ed Volk served as the City of Shawnee as Mayor from July 6, 2020 through September 16, 2024. And whereas the said Ed Volk has demonstrated to be a person of upright character, a good citizen, a friend to many, and a worthy representative of the City of Shawnee. And whereas the said Ed Volk has helped make many important decisions affecting thousands of lives in this community by taking a positive approach to the many projects set forth before him, lending his mature judgment and experience to those decisions, all the while maintaining a level of unsurpassed integrity. And whereas he has been instrumental in the accomplishments of the city that includes the economic and cultural development, public safety, ongoing street improvement programs, and the beautification of the community. And whereas it is both fitting and proper for this governing body to officially recognize the said Ed Bolt for his dedicated performance of the duties and responsibilities as a member of the Board of Commissioners. Now therefore, be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, that they hereby express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Ed Bolt for his distinguished service to the City of Shawnee. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official records of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and a copy here presented to Ed Bolt with the desire that he shall continue to contribute his talents and energy to the betterment of the city, and that he shall enjoy much happiness, good health, and good fortune in the years to come. Passed and approved the 16th day of September 2024. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
I'm not going to keep you long because I know you're going to be here late tonight anyway. But I cannot tell you how much I have enjoyed serving on the city commission. I think we live in a wonderful community, lots of great folks. It has been a privilege and an honor to be involved in the city commission and everything that goes on here in Shawnee. I cannot thank the folks that I serve with enough. I cannot thank staff enough for all the hard work that you guys do. They're the ones that get everything done. You get asked to make decisions on the commission night, but we have an amazing staff in Shawnee. I really appreciate all their hard work and everything that they do for us. So I'm probably not going to say a whole lot more. I have enjoyed it. Thank you all for coming out. I wish all the new commissioners, Eric, I wish you the best as mayor. I can tell you guys that the new ones, this is not an easy job. You're going to find that out very quickly. But it's a job that you're going to take a lot of satisfaction in what you do. And I know you guys will just keep doing good things, to piggyback on things that we have done and prior commissions have done. So I see nothing but good things going forward for Shawnee. I'm very, very optimistic. So
We have one more token of appreciation. Your gavel, sir.
I'm surprised the kid has a birthday. Very good. Thank you so much. If I remember in our recess. Okay, so I'm going to read from here. Item 6 is swearing in Mayor Eric Stevens and Ward 2 Commissioner Greta Mattson. So please you need to come forward here. Are you doing this? Okay, so these will do the swearing in ceremony. And I'm going to give you this back so that I don't take it home.
I say your name.
I, Eric Stevens,
Do solemnly
swear
swear that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
That I will not
And I will not
knowingly receive directly or indirectly
knowingly receive directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable things
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear that I will
I further swear that I will
faithfully discharge my duties as
faithfully discharge my duties as
Mayor,
mayor
Commissioner, to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
So now we'll take recess, or?
Present the certificates.
Oh, there we go. Certificate from the election board. And then here's yours. Thank you, sir. Congratulations to both everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you guys the best.
Very much.
Now,
This?
now we're gonna, oh, there you go. Now there'll be a recess while they get everything rearranged.
Thank you.
right, great.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm used to sledgehammers, that's a little light. Okay. Now that we're awake. Okay, item number 8. Commission appointment of vice mayor per Article 3, Section 6 of the city charter. Any discussion, any motions, vice mayor?
I would move, Daniel, we nominated him and he accepted a couple months ago.
Okay.
And I would say, well, I mean, I'm good with keeping with that, and that would be the motion I would make.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's call for the vote.
Okay, I gotta get back in here. It kicked me out. I can give you my verbal while I get on here. Yes.
Motion carries 6 yes, 1 abstention. So, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an honor to serve.
We don't have to change the plaque.
Right, keep the same plaque, save some money. Okay, item number 9. Consider approval of consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Approved by, motion by Daniel, second by Chris. And let's call for a vote. Motion carries 7-0 yes. And on to item number 10. Presentation of Pet of the Month by Animal Control. Here she comes. Oh, goodness.
Little kitten.
She's really cute.
I knew it was gonna be a long meeting, so I didn't want the dog pulling on me.
Oh, my, she's
Perfect.
really cute.
Her name's Cat. She's about 10 weeks old. She is available for adoption. The adoption fee is $10. That includes her spay and a rabies shot when she's old enough.
Okay. And how old is she now?
She's 8 to 10 weeks.
8 to 10 weeks. And how many cats to dogs ratio do we have up for adoption? Any idea how many?
She's our only cat.
She's our
right
only
now.
cat. Okay.
Yeah. Right now, we have 18 dogs for adoption. We only have 18 kennels.
Oh, so we're full capacity.
All the time.
All
As soon
right.
as one goes out, one comes right in behind it.
Yeah. Somebody needs to adopt this precious
so
little kitty
bad.
cat.
I'll pay the $10 for you to take it.
Okay.
I'll split it with you.
Welcome gift.
From the commission to the new mayor.
That's right.
Vehicle is yours, she might just end up in it.
My wife agreed that, I'm sorry. She's so
Anybody want
cute.
better?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, you do. The pet deposit at my place is way too large. Like, it's 1 month's rent for the pet adoption, for the pet deposit, 1 month's rent. No matter what kind of animal. Even one that I can smuggle in my pocket.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.
Now on to item 11, the mayor's proclamations. We'll begin with the Patriot Day, National Day of Service and Remembrance, September 11, 2024. Let's come down to the front. Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas by a joint resolution approved on December 18, 2001, Congress has designated September 11th of each year as Patriots Day. Approved April 21st, 2009, Congress has also requested the annual observance of September 11th as the National Day of Service and Remembrance. And whereas on September 11th, we honor the brave Americans who exhibited extraordinary strength and courage following the attacks on our nation and its citizens and recognize the sacrifices they made during our nation's darkest hour. And whereas, in the moments, days, and years after the attacks on September 11th, heroes were forged. Service members, first responders, and civilians from across the U.S. risked their own lives to save the lives of others. Through this catastrophe, these audacious Americans displayed humanity, bravery, and true selflessness. And whereas, we reserve this day each year to show our gratitude to the noble patriots who served our country, to bring terrorists to justice, and prevent further attacks on our nation. And whereas, the City of Shawnee VFW Post 1317 vowed to never forget the high cost these patriots have paid and the events of 9/11 that will forever be burned into our hearts and minds. We invite you all to take a moment to remember the losses we have suffered as a community and as a nation. We can attribute our safety and freedom to these outstanding Americans, and we encourage the citizens of Shawnee to show your appreciation to these patriots by volunteering to serve those who have served. Now therefore, I, Eric Stevens, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the 11th day of September 2024 to be Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance 2024.
We got on wrong side.
Yeah, we did. Well, we got another one for you.
Hold on.
And item B, the National POW MIA Recognition Day, September 20th, 2024. National POW MIA Recognition Day. Whereas the National Prisoners of War, POW, Missing in Action, MIA Recognition Day was established in 1979 and is commemorated annually on the third Friday of September. And whereas POW MIA Recognition Day is an opportunity to honor and recognize these brave service members and the families, friends, and veterans who were held captive and have returned, the ones who are awaiting recovery and identification, as well as the ones who remain unaccounted for from our nation's past wars and conflicts. And whereas the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, is committed to advocating for the fullest possible accounting, support for the families, and preserving the legacy of the service members lost in the line of duty and the ones who remain missing. And whereas the VFW takes great pride in its efforts to ensure that these heroes are remembered and honored through various programs and initiatives. And whereas through legislative advocacy, the VFW has helped create policies and initiatives aimed at addressing the challenges faced by those working to account for POWs and MIAs. They have consistently pushed for increased funding, resources, and cooperation between the U.S. government and foreign nations to expedite the identification process. And whereas the City of Shawnee VFW Post 1317 would like to encourage our community to reflect on the sacrifices made by these heroes and their families, we must also recognize the enduring role played by the VFW. Their dedication ensures that the issue of MIA POW service members remains in the public consciousness, and their advocacy brings us closer to providing closure to those who have awaited for answers for far too long. Now, therefore, I, Eric Stevens, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the 20th day of September 2024 to be National POW MIA Recognition Day.
I'd like to say to piggyback on the POW MIA recognition, on October 14th, 10 o'clock at Fairview Cemetery, a Korean War POW was recovered in Korea. They finally identified him, and they're bringing him back home to Shawnee.
One more proclamation here. National Diaper Need Awareness Week. Hello, and we are with Lacey Holt. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce Don Plumley with the VFW. So National Diaper Need Awareness Week. Whereas diaper need, the condition of not being able to afford a sufficient supply of clean diapers to keep babies and toddlers clean, dry, and healthy, can adversely affect the health and well-being of children and their families. And whereas national surveys and research studies report that nearly 1 in 2 families struggles with diaper need, and 48% of families delay changing a diaper to extend the available supply. And whereas a daily or weekly supply of diapers is generally an eligibility requirement for babies and toddlers to participate in child care programs and quality early education programs that enable children to thrive and parents to work. However, many parents struggling with diaper need report missing an average of 5 days of work each month due to an insufficient supply of diapers. And whereas without enough diapers, babies and toddlers risk infections and health problems that may require medical attention, resulting in medical costs. And parents may be prevented from accessing child care needed to go to work or school, thereby destabilizing the family's economic prospects and well-being. And whereas the people of Shawnee recognize that diaper need is a public health issue, and addressing diaper need can lead to economic opportunity for the state's families and communities, and improved health for children, thus ensuring all children and families have access to the basic necessities required to thrive and reach their full potential. And whereas Shawnee is proud to be home to trusted community-based organizations, including Legacy Parenting Center, that recognize the importance of diapers related to health and economic stability for families, and thus distribute diapers to families throughout various channels. Now, therefore, I, Eric Stevens, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of September 23rd through September 29th, 2024, to be National Diaper Need Awareness Week. In the City of Shawnee, the City of Shawnee thanks Legacy Parenting Center, their staff, volunteers, and donors, and encourages the community to donate generously to Legacy Parenting Center and support those organizations that collect and distribute diapers to families struggling with diaper needs, so that all of Shawnee's children and families can thrive and reach their full potential. In the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, dated the 16th day of September 2024. Floor is yours.
We are so excited to have the support of the City of Shawnee, and we've got over 70 locations throughout town. You've probably seen our diaper need awareness signs, people just helping us raise awareness for this crisis that families have, not being able to access diapers for their babies. And so next week, we've got a lot of locations. There's 70 across the city that are collecting diapers, and I just want to thank you all for helping us help babies and help families in our community.
Now, item number 12, swearing in of Kimberly Smith as City Treasurer.
I state your name. I, Kimberly Smith, do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support, obey, and defend. That I will support, obey, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of Oklahoma. And the Constitution of Oklahoma. And that I will not. And I will not. Knowingly receive directly or indirectly. Knowingly receive directly or indirectly. Any money or other valuable thing. Any money or other valuable thing. For the performance or non-performance. For the performance or non-performance. Of any active duty. Of any active duty. Pertaining to my office. Pertaining to my office. Other than the compensation allowed by law. Other than the compensation allowed by law. I further swear that I will. I further swear that I will. Faithfully discharge my duties as. Faithfully discharge my duties as. City Treasurer. City Treasurer. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, item number 13, presentation of the fiscal year 2022-2023 annual comprehensive financial report and single audit report. Andrea.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I will only be standing here for a very, very brief moment because I am getting ready to introduce Kenzie Duarte from audit, who produced these audit documents. As you know, the city has their finances audited every single year by a firm completely unrelated to us to make sure that all of our financial documents are a true representation of the financial reality of the city. In addition to that, we always hit the threshold for an individual federal audit, so there's also a single audit that is done every year. Both of these audits came back to us with an unmodified opinion, and that may sound very benign, but that is a very big deal because a modified opinion means something went wrong and the financial statements were not as they should be. So I'm happy to report that both of the opinions for both our citywide audit and the special single federal audit are unmodified. And with that said, I will give the floor to Kinsey so he can give you much more information and he will be available for additional questions.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Kenzie Duarte. I'm a partner at Audit and Associates, and I believe Andrea did a fantastic job at providing an overall understanding of the audited financial statements. First of all, I want to thank you for providing the opportunity for me to present the financial statements audit report and the results of it. Now, who's with me ready to go over 160 pages of our report, right?
Right.
Well, hopefully you have the opportunity to go over the report. Like Andrea mentioned, we do have a modified opinion on the financial statements. What that means is that there were no misstatements or deficiencies that were pervasive enough that required us to change or modify the opinion on the financial statements. So good news overall on the modified opinion, right? I always like to point out to the page 1 of the report that you may have, and that is what's called a transmittal letter that has the City of Shawnee as a header on that page. Essentially what it does, it provides a pretty good overall statement of what the results of the audit were as far as the financial statements, activity, and the changes on it. So it's a really good start. I always recommend for those to go over and read that first before you head into the reading the entire report of 160 pages, right? I also like to point out there's on page 13 of the report, that is under the management discussion and analysis. There is 4 bullet points under the financial highlights, and that provides a pretty good overall of what the prior year were, what the changes were, and what the fiscal year 2023 looked like. Now, in our opinion, we'll have to go back just a little bit to page 9. Again, we are required to be independent of the city, as well as meet our ethical responsibilities, and we were able to do so. On the audit, page 9, you will see that we point out a change in accounting principle, and it was for the implementation of GASB 96. Essentially, I like to call it what we remember from fiscal year 2022 on the leases is leases step 2, you know, on a different level, and it's essentially for the software subscriptions, the software, but for this year 23 that we had to implement that as a new pronouncement that came out this year for 23. And then we also have an emphasis of matter, which is the paragraph that goes right below that, which she's pointing out to a no disclosure for the changes that had to be made for the implementation of GASB 96, the subscription-based pronouncement. You will also see on the next page, on page 10, 5 bullet points of our auditor's other responsibilities throughout the audit. That includes being independent of the city as well as our ethical responsibilities. We are also required, there's a separate letter, which is a letter for those charged with governance. And essentially, on that letter, we point out whether there were any significant matters or other matters that were not communicated on the opinion, that were included in the opinion, as well as if we had any disagreement with management, any uncorrected misstatements, which are misstatements that are not material enough to have to be recorded in the financial statements, but have to be communicated. We're glad to announce that there were no misstatements or disagreements with management that we are required to communicate with the commissioners in the city. We do make an emphasis of matter attention to the pronouncement for GASB 96 implementation for year 2023, but otherwise we would like to appreciate and want to say thank you to the city manager for all the efforts and the help to getting the audit completed this year, as well as the accounting, everyone that was involved in the accounting department to help us get through the audit this year. So with that, I open up for any, I kept it brief, we didn't go over 160 pages, right? So for any questions or comments that you may have for me.
Questions for Kinsey? I think we're good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So item number 14, construction of a task order in accordance. What's that?
You need to make a motion to accept it.
It's not an action item.
Carry on.
Yes.
Item number 14, consideration of a task order in accordance with the agreement between the City of Shawnee and Del Sol Consulting, Inc. for services related to the April 19th, 2023 storm event. Rachel Erickson. Hi, Rachel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. In June of 2023, approved a contract with Del Sol Consulting for consulting services related to the April 19th of 2023 tornado recovery. This contract requires issuance of task orders. This will be task order number 4, and allow Del Sol to continue to provide services that are included in their scope of work. It includes a not to exceed provision of $500,000, and staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Because I think, I probably know the answer, but I want to make sure, because as you noted, this is the 4th addition and revision. Has a not to exceed provision of 500,000, but then on the financial impact, it says 659,000. Could you explain that to just, so everybody's clear?
So we deal with task orders in $500,000 increments, and we'll reassess. If we get up to that amount they're over-exaggerating on, we'll reassess and we'll come back to each other.
It's kind of a cushion built in.
659 cumulative?
So the 659 is cumulative. It is what is currently in the budget. However, it is an estimate based on what the recovery consultant estimates to spend on city matters. And so we want to make sure that we continue to hold down our thumbs on the spending, which is why this is not to exceed 500,000.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
So the 659 is what's budgeted, if I'm understanding. So that's what's budgeted, but we're asking for 500. Does that, and that includes these things that are consulting for FEMA category. So are they hiring multiple individuals to cover all of these things? Like what are the expenses involved in that?
So there are no additional staff that is hired by the consultant. The staff is already with the consultant. They're helping us with all of there are currently 27 projects that are in the FEMA pipeline. It takes an extraordinary amount of staff to oversee all of the procurement, making sure that everything is FEMA compliant, responding to requests for information, responding to additional documentation needs. In one particular example, we are now on iteration number 5 of different documentation that has been requested by FEMA, and so the city staff does not have the time to respond to all of those, and that is what our recovery consultant does for us.
Am I under the, I mean, we've been, I think, really pleased with Del Sol, just so we can put it on the record. We're already seeing funds, FEMA funds come in that originally was estimated would be years and years, so it's multiple years, but their expertise is helping us speed up that process to where we're getting reimbursed.
not just the reimbursement, and right now there is a hold just by virtue of Congress needs to appropriate more money, and that does not just affect the city of Shawnee, but that affects the entire country because there have been so many disasters just recently. What is really important is getting the project lined out correctly, because if we do one step wrong at the very beginning of getting a project into the FEMA system, we are likely not to recover the full amount that we would otherwise be eligible for. So not just on the back end, on the reimbursement side, it is most important that we have all of that support on the front end, particularly as we're just now starting to rebuild, because it has taken us this long to settle with insurance and settle with FEMA on demolition, allowing us to demolish some of these structures, making sure that the projects for rebuilding are now appropriately set up according to all of the FEMA guidance, so we're not running into reimbursement issues later. But yes, you are correct, Commissioner Matthews. We have already received funding, and there are several approved projects that are currently awaiting Congress to kick loose additional appropriations so we can receive that money directly.
Thank you.
Do we have a total of what, even an approximation of what you said there's 27 projects, money-wise, do we have an approximation of what those are looking like? As far as what's in a return on investment, is kind of what I'm thinking, as far as this money is gonna get us what?
Excellent question, thank you so much. At this point in time, there is the debris removal that was done very early on, and a part of that has already been reimbursed. Another part that extended beyond the first 30 days is currently reimbursement. Overall, the city expended about $6 million, of which a portion has already been reimbursed.
Okay.
The remainder is still out for reimbursement. In terms of, and some of the fee of previous task orders for Del Sol was for that reimbursement to get everything lined up for the debris removal. At this point in time, I know that you will probably remember $18 million, because that was the number of estimated damage above and beyond the $6 million that we had incurred in debris removal. That number has since risen just by virtue of increased cost estimates, because we do have a consultant architecture and design firm on hand who's helping us put together bid packages to actually rebuild some of the structures and assets that were destroyed. And we're currently sitting at $23 million, but you may also remember that recent bids have come in higher than expected, or higher than engineers have estimated. So I suspect that before everything is said and done, we're probably looking at $25 million in damages, in addition to the $6 million debris. And so we are staying within the guidelines that FEMA has given for, this is how much you may spend on administration overall, and administration for each particular project. That is certainly something that the city is keeping an eye on.
Because one more from me, because it's been a while since we've revisited this, but you mentioned that allowable administrative expense. FEMA reimburses us some or all of what we spend on Del Sol. It's not coming out of our pocket, correct?
Correct. That is one of the wonderful things about having a recovery consultant. 75% is outright reimbursable by FEMA, so long as all of the boxes are checked, and Del Sol makes sure that all of the boxes are checked. The remainder is a local match, and that local 25% match has always been shared between the state and the local entity. So ultimately, the city will be paying 12.5% of that local match requirement. Just to let the city commission know, there is no way city staff could do this.
Well, when we look at 12.5% of $659,000, $80,000, we couldn't hire an FTE to do it anyway.
Not with the expertise that is required to navigate that process.
Well, and if there's certain steps that have to be followed, is there any, like, I guess, responsibility, I would assume with Del Sol, that they're taking some responsibility that all the steps are followed correctly? And so I'm thinking that we could be, if the steps aren't followed properly, we could miss out on a lot of money, and it would actually cost more than what we're paying Del Sol.
So
right.
The process, the way the process is done, there is an approval process at each one of these steps. There are 7 steps to every project before it makes it from inception of the project all the way to reimbursement and finalization. And at each one of these procedural steps, FEMA says, go or no go. So there is no doing it wrong and then, ending up all the way at step 7 and they're saying you did something wrong at step 1 and therefore we're not reimbursing you. So that is, but trying to get to the yes on every step.
I see.
Is most painful.
Okay.
And there has been oversight the entire time. We've had weekly meetings since the tornado with them and FEMA, so.
How often does FEMA actually come to our town to look to see what progress is?
The whole first year, they were here every other week.
Every other week? And I'm assuming they've cut it down a little bit now?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're working mobily from Denton, so.
And this will be done when?
In 10 years' time, we should see the last of the reimbursements.
I've actually heard compliments from other towns of how well Del Sol is helping us out, and other towns, Barnesdall, and everyone is jealous, and they're looking for help too.
Any other questions? Okay. Then we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve item 14.
Sir?
Second.
Daniel and Mark. And so we'll call the vote. And motion passes 7-0. On to item number 15, consideration of an agreement with Safe Events for Families for the production and management of Shawnee's Christmas Parade of Lights. Andrea.
As you know, for many years now, the City of Shawnee has both physically as well as financially supported very important community-wide events. And among those events is our annual Christmas Parade of Lights. In early August of this year, the city published a request for proposal in search of a qualified event manager, whether that be an individual, group, or a firm, to produce and manage this family-friendly Shawnee Christmas Parade of Lights. And although there were 9 individuals and firms who had requested a copy of this RFP, ultimately no qualified proposals were received by the given deadline. Subsequently, a representative from the Safe Events for Families, also known as SEF, reached out to the city to discuss potential collaboration. And what you see before you today is the proposed agreement with SEF to produce and manage the city-sponsored Christmas Parade of Lights. The scope of work is largely aligned with what was contained in the RFP. However, the agreement differs in 2 aspects what was ultimately contained in that request for proposal. As stated in Section 3A, it is a reimbursement-based contract, meaning that the city will reimburse SEF for appropriate parade expenses following the presentation of receipts. And furthermore, as stated in Section 5, there is an interest in a potential annual renewal of this agreement for up to 5 annual terms. The full scope for this agreement has been attached and made part of the agreement as Exhibit A. And I would like to express my sincere appreciation to SEF for their interest in assisting the city with this very important community event. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I know that we also have a SEF representative in the room if there are any specific questions of SEF.
What does the $50,000 cover, or estimated, what is that, what expenses are we expecting? So
That is a better question for... In general, everything that the scope of work includes, but there are much better specifics that Del can give you.
Don't run too far. What was the question, Commissioner?
What expenses are anticipated, which it's reimbursable, but what expenses are anticipated? Has it gone up in anticipated expense, like are things more expensive? What's,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, things are more expensive. Logistical issues, all the way from equipment needed to operate the parade, from golf carts to porta potties, working with the city, Parks Department, the police department, additional security protocols. Our plan is to bring the fireworks back, so that is a large undertaking. It also has a large price tag. Expenses that way. And the reason for we've had an agreement in previous years of a reimbursable. The reason for that is because CEF is a small nonprofit. And in order, if you do just write a check, more or less, to any nonprofit, then you have the audit. You want to be audited and do those kind of things. Well, with a small operation like that, it's really hard, one, to find somebody to do an audit. And if they do want to do an audit, then it's an additional anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000, which would then have to be passed on, which would take away from the dollars that would be more better utilized with the city and things along the lines. So we feel this is a good start. That's why we also came to an agreement with the approval. Obviously, we know we can't bound future city commissions, but we feel that it was a reasonable request to ask that to be reviewed for continuational, so that we can build a longevity of 3 to 5 years to continue to build on in that operation.
This may be a Joe question or a Dell question or an Andre question. Yeah, I'm all for the certainty.
Vote yes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
The certainty and that we can provide the community. Is there a way to add, like, where it automatically appears? I know we can't bind a future commission, but where it will appear on the agenda at a certain time every year?
I will make sure that it appears on the agenda after March 31st. If CEF requests that it be put back on, then it will
Right.
appear
We
on the
asked that,
agenda.
we put that into the contractual agreement that has a March 31st deadline for us as well to make sure that the agreement is, so that it's presented to you guys as the commission for that purpose.
Does the 50,000 cover the whole thing?
It does not. We will still go after seeking additional sponsorships to help with secondary expenses from businesses and things along that line. I can tell you in 2021, which would have been the last year that CEF was involved in special events, our contract with the city was $65,000, and our total budget, this also included Bill and Bell, was $128. It's the lowest we've ever spent. With the expenses going up, we will seek additional sponsorships and help that way. But we feel like this is the good seed money from the city, and show that our partnership is committed with the city manager's office, and we work with the city manager and all the staff at the city to move forward and provide, the parade that we've come to know and love, and continue that operation.
So it's probable that it's going to cost 75 to 100,000, but the city's only putting in 50,000, which CEF fronts the money, and then you bring us receipts and we reimburse, but you still have more work to do for more money for the overall price, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep. We are, I'll just be honest, we are very late in the game on this. Those dollars, every single dollar will be spent. There's no way around it.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
And so, we will need a motion.
I move to approve.
Second?
Sorry.
Okay.
Fifth.
So, Lauren makes a motion, Greta second, and we will call the vote.
He voted.
All right. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 16, public hearing for a request to rezone property located at 1303 West Farrell Street from C3 Highway Commercial District to R3 Multifamily Residential District, case number RZ02-24, deferred from June 17, 2024, City Commission meeting. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Ryan Harkins, Community Development Director. This is a rezoning request that has come before you before and was deferred to give the applicant more time to take additional steps and refocus their development proposal. This property was originally ag and was rezoned in the last couple of years to commercial to C3, and then now comes before you to be rezoned from C3 with a request to go to R3. There is R3 on 2 adjacent sides, as well as I2 light industrial. The applicant is looking at doing the rezoning request as a multiple step process in order to make the possibility of short-term rentals compliant with city code. And so there's a 2-step process. This is the first of the 2 agenda items on tonight's agenda. This came before you a couple of months ago and was deferred 90 days because the applicant was originally looking at taking the property to auction, which they did, and then is now looking with no buyers and no potential offers, trying to take the next steps that are possible. They have met multiple times with city staff to look at potential options, and at this point is continuing with the request to go to R3 so that if they continue to do short-term rentals on the property, this would help bring it into compliance with city code. Having said that, I know the applicant is here as well if you want to ask them questions directly. Staff has reviewed the item. We have no objections to the rezoning request. We feel the R3 is a step down from the commercial and is a logical extension of what is already in place. It also helps provide compliance with the short-term rental ordinance. Planning Commission reviewed the item at their last commission meeting and on a vote of 6-0 recommended approval of the rezoning request as well. Having said that, I'd be open to any questions you might have.
There's R3 on both sides of it already?
You have
Existing?
R3, as noted in the staff report, you have R3 on a couple of sides, and then you have I2 nearby it as well, and then A1. So the R3 would take it closer to what's surrounding it on a couple of sides and continue to provide a number of residential opportunities if the property owner or a buyer wanted to do anything like that.
Okay. Any more questions for Ryan? Okay. Now, is there anyone here to speak for the hearing, for the request? Anyone here to speak against it? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We'll go on to 17. Item 17. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1303 West Farrell Street from C3 Highway Commercial District to R3 Multifamily Residential District, case number RZ02-24, applicant K. Steele. Ryan, you're up again, sir.
So in terms of options with the ordinance, the request was to rezone to R3. You can approve the ordinance to do just that. You can deny the ordinance. You can defer if you think additional information or discussion is needed. You also have the option as the governing body to rezone to a lower density zoning district, which in this case would be R1 or R2. That would allow development potential as well, and the potential for short-term rentals if the applicant desires later on. But those are the options available to you.
Any questions, discussion? Okay, could I ask for a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance rezone from C3 to R3.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, and let's call the vote.
Mr. Mayor, prior
Yes.
to the vote, I'm going to read the
Okay.
ordinance title into the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land described as southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 24, Township 10 North, Range 3 east of the Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, from zoning classification C3, Highway Commercial District, to R3, Multifamily Residential District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. And now we can call for the vote. Ashley? The vote carries 7-0. On to item number 18, public hearing for a request for conditional use permit, CUP, for an accessory dwelling unit located at 1303 West Farrell Street, case number CUP 02-24, deferred from June 17, 2024, City Commission meeting. Ryan again.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So the CUP request before you on this item is the accompanying request. The CUP under the short-term rental ordinance is required for every Airbnb that we allow in the community under city code. The applicant made this request at the same time as the rezoning request, again, to make one of the short-term rental units that they had on the property, and at the time of the original application there were 6. One of them would become legal. They understand that every short-term rental on the property has to go through the conditional use process, so if they choose others later on, they would have to bring those units before you for a CUP as well. Again, this item had been deferred to this date and time by the City Commission because of the auction process. When the Planning Commission heard this item before them at their last meeting, they did feel, because the applicant still was questioning whether to continue this or look at other options, they felt like the rezoning was an appropriate step to allow the property owner flexibility, but until the owner did not, since the owner did not fully know what they wanted to do, they did not feel like the CUP was an appropriate request at this time, and that the applicant should come back later if they felt like that was something they wanted to pursue. Staff's original recommendation to Planning Commission as well as City Commission was to approve the CUP request. We see no objections to that. It allows the applicant to have one short-term rental be legally compliant, with the understanding that others would have to be coming before you, again, as I said, as a CUP. Having said that, the Planning Commission still voted 5-0 to deny the CUP request. Again, because they felt like they wanted to be flexible, but they felt like there were no concrete plans, and so they didn't feel it was an appropriate request to make at this time. Under city code, there's no supermajority requirement if you choose to override that and ignore that recommendation. So a simple majority would be needed to approve the item. Having said that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Why is one conditional use permit being filed when there are multiples? Do we know?
Because of the way the part of the code about short-term rentals is written, every single STR has to have a CUP. So one CUP for each short-term rental unit.
But could all 5 or 6 have been filed at the same time? Do you see what I'm asking?
I understand what you're asking.
Or is there something preventing that?
During the original discussions, the owner was still unsure how many they wanted to keep versus maintain or get rid of. Over the last few months, 6 of the units have dwindled down to 3. And so at this point, the owner's looking whether they do this, totally sell, or look at other options. So when staff originally talked with the property owner, we focused on doing one to get one compliant, and then let the applicant figure out what they wanted to do with the rest of the property as they go. In theory, could they? It'd be a stretch, but we could probably be flexible that way. It would just be a case of trying to see an overall concept.
But to be clear, this is only for one.
To be clear, this is a request for one Airbnb unit on the property. and only one.
Which this was, this whole process was brought in good faith in the beginning, right? Because there are a lot of places that operate without going into the CUP process. Am I correct in that?
This was brought because the applicant was looking to sell the property, and in the due diligence process, a buyer backed out because they realized this was not legally conforming with city code.
Understood. Okay.
Any more questions? Brian?
All right.
I have a couple maybe after the hearing on the next item.
Okay. So now we ask if there anyone here to speak for the request. Okay. Anyone here to speak against it? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item number 19. Consideration of a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit located at 1303 West Farrell Street. Case number CUP 022-24, applicant Case Steele. Ryan again.
Thank you. So in terms of options, staff's recommendation was approval. You heard Planning Commission's recommendation. You can approve it as requested. You can defer to a different date if you feel that additional information or discussion is needed. You can deny the request as recommended by Planning Commission. Staff's recommendation was and still is approval of the CUP per the conditions noted in the staff report.
I don't want to
go ahead.
Cause you to have to speak for others, but I'm having a little trouble. You know, this is a rare, or not, maybe not rare, but doesn't happen often when staff recommendation differs from what the Planning Commission has sent us. I'm having a little trouble following the Planning Commission's train of thought.
I can certainly speak to that.
Yeah, I would, because, I mean, you've laid out what their actions were, but I don't really see.
Their thought was the applicant still isn't totally sure what they want to do with the property. As they've continued to meet with staff, they've thrown out other options about what they may or may not be looking at doing or what they could consider. With that in mind, the Planning Commission felt like giving a CUP for the short-term rental was not, in their purview, an appropriate step for the city to take. They feel like the applicant has used a lot of staff time in discussion to try and go in circles and help the applicant figure out what to do. Staff in the Planning Commission's mind has taken the applicant about as far as they can go in helping provide assistance. And at this point, the applicant probably needs to sit down with design professionals on their dime and try and do some things to figure out best use going forward.
And you're telling me planning's perspective?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out because they approved the rezone.
They were willing to give the applicant an opportunity to go forward with something and figure some things out, but this specific use, they were not ready to recommend approval on because of the back and forth and the uncertainty.
But because of a political nature or because it doesn't meet code? Because the political nature is our discussion. To me, I'm trying to figure out, they were outside their lane a little bit to me of recommending whether it meets code or not.
I think some of it was just the frustration of watching an application sit in the hopper for a long time and an uneasiness about approving something that may or may not still be there and may or may not change again, and until they knew for certain what they were going to be asking to approve once and for all, they didn't feel ready to take the step.
Well, they knew what they were being asked to approve. It was right there on the paper.
And they do understand, I mean, they had a clear understanding that you as the governing body have the ultimate decision to make.
What's the fee on the conditional use permit? I don't remember, I haven't done it in a long time. Is it like
for a short-term rental, it's 100 and I want to say 185, but I may be wrong on that one specifically.
I have one more.
Okay.
If we issue a conditional use permit and it changes hands, does the new owner have to come back?
So if the CUP would be allowed to come back to you if it were to change or they were to add things. The CUP would be allowed to stay in place if this stays with the property owner. If it's rezoned for any reason and the CUP is no longer in compliance, that would go away at that time.
So you said there were 3 buildings out there.
There are 3 potential structures. The CUP would allow for one to be operated as an Airbnb. The other 2 would have to stay vacant until the applicant brought a CUP request that was approved.
Is this CUP assigned to one of those buildings, a
It's
particular
not
one?
assigned to a specific one. We would work with the owner to get one assigned and then leave it at that, and that would be re-inspected on an annual basis.
On an annual basis, okay.
And that's part of the relicensing of Airbnbs that is in code on an annual basis.
Any other questions on this one?
All right.
We're past the public hearing.
Sorry? Yeah. So we have to have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a... Yeah. I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay. So let's call the vote. Motion carries 7-0. And we'll move on to item number 20. Public hearing to adopt an official zoning map, case number TXT02-24, applicant, City of Shawnee. Ryan's got a long night.
Not by choice. Sometimes it just works that way on the agenda. So this is a follow-up to the approval of the text of the Unified Development Code. Typical practice is to approve the ordinance text and the zoning map at the same time. There were a couple of discussion items that staff was still working through to finalize last month, and so we advertised a hearing and a text amendment separately for the zoning map to be adopted. I actually noticed that twice in the local newspaper. Planning Commission, upon review, made a couple of minor amendments just to some areas of spot zoning on the map. Those revisions have been included on what you see in the agenda packet tonight. Planning Commission recommended this item unanimously, actually 6-0. They were not all there, one was missing. But they are happy to see this item come before you, as is staff.
Any questions for Ryan?
So if you choose to adopt this item, the map that you see on the city's website, when you go under maps, would change to this going forward, once that's totally in effect.
And the yellow is downtown, is that correct?
Correct. We tried to create an area that highlights the downtown separately because there's so much industrial and residential around it. So the yellow on the main map blocks out the boundaries of that downtown zoning district, and then the inset shows the different sub-districts, of which there are 3, a core, transition, and edge. And we punted on the Twin Lakes district and just gave it a generic blue.
Okay.
Are the specific codes being applied to these colors, are they in the Unified Development Code, the 90 pages? Are they in there? What is this, what exactly is this pertaining to?
So this is the zoning map that reflects the zoning districts in the new Unified Development Code.
Okay. So in that 90 pages, it tells exactly what these colors are
Correct.
being bound by. Okay.
What the do's and the don'ts are for each.
Correct. What the do's and
Zoning.
don'ts for each district, the dimension requirements, there's a specific use table that shows what uses are allowed in each district. And so when I mentioned the fact that once this is approved, this would become the new zoning map. This ordinance would take effect 30 days from adoption. So in 30 days, this is what you would see on the city's website.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay, is there anyone here to speak for the adoption of the official zoning map? Anyone here to speak against it? Okay.
Dale Curbs on Coney Island downtown. I do just have a question, maybe for clarification, as we were talking to some of the business owners downtown. You brought up the downtown district, and so is this having to do anything with the downtown? We don't get to see a map, so I guess that would be my question. And if it does, what is this zoning map? Is it going to change the parameters and the dynamics of the TIF district, which is all C4 and those kind of things? So those are just questions that we were discussing back there, and we just wanted a little clarification.
So I can certainly speak to the TIF district. This does in no way affect the TIF district. That is a completely separate process laid out in a TIF project plan. In terms of requirements, there are actually some requirement changes, I don't want to say additional requirements, that pertain to parking in the downtown district, which would make it easier for a business to come in because the parking requirement is lowered. Same with downtown housing opportunities.
So it relaxes the parking requirements on the downtown and the yellow?
Correct.
Could I ask, as a downtown business person, what we're talking about in relaxed?
There are certain requirements for a business of certain kind or a housing unit of a certain kind has to have so many off-street parking spots, and those are the requirements that are relaxed. But this is not relaxed via map. This is relaxed via the Unified Development Code that was adopted by the City Commission during the last meeting. So the zoning map is just simply the graphical representation of where those new requirements that were approved by the City Commission now come into play.
Okay.
So is the parking only relaxed at the yellow in the downtown area? Is that where we're?
Specifically in the downtown area.
So one final, if I may, I apologize. Commissioner O'Neill, you have business downtown. I know Commissioner Madison, but I'm going to deflect to you since you've been on the commission a little longer. I mean, give me this business to business. What are we seeing?
I can answer. Okay. I have the Unified Code. I have seen it. I was not here when it was adopted. I would have voted to adopt it. I felt that it helps downtown identify things that we deal with, buildings next to each other, things that other commercial and residential areas don't have.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'd like to speak against it because I'd like to know why we didn't wait until the new commission was in place, in case y'all had different ideas. We talked about locking people into things. Well, the previous commission locked y'all into this Uniform Development Code because they voted before the new mayor and new commissioners were put in place. So I'd say no to this. And at the same time, we don't get to ask y'all questions. You get to ask us for clarification. So hopefully from now on, nobody else comes up here asking the city manager, the city attorney, or even a commissioner, since everything's supposed to be directed to the mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Teresa?
I would just like to say, Teresa Cody, I would just like to say that
I feel like the business owners should have been talked about about this, had an opportunity to talk about this at the whole planning process. And I don't remember us having a meeting that we got to talk about it or listen or anything, but just throwing that out there. Thank you.
You're pertaining to the downtown?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. If I'm correct, this is just a public hearing. We're not.
Correct, we're in a public hearing.
We're not taking action on this tonight.
No, the next agenda item would be.
Okay, that's the next one?
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
If the commission so chooses to take action.
sure. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and move on to item 21. Consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code of the City of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, more specifically adopting a new official zoning map to accompany Chapter 22, Article 10. Case number TXT02-24, applicant City of Shawnee.
So in terms of options of the actual ordinance, you can approve as presented, you can approve as amended if you see something you want to change, you can deny the request, or you can defer to a date certain if you feel additional discussion is needed. Staff over the summer did focus groups and a public open house to walk through the changes in the ordinance. The draft of the text before it was adopted was available on the city's website and could be downloaded and viewed. Staff really did not receive any comments when we opened up the project website for feedback about this or much other than about parks in general and about an issue of concern to one citizen at the lake. So having said that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
So really what we're doing here is we're changing the names of the zoning districts to align with the UDC, not really changing any rules or.
Correct.
And so when we talk about public input on this would have been through the whole UDC process.
Correct.
So this is just really changing names, not changing anything formulaic or of substance. We're aligning the names of the districts with what is in the code that's already been passed.
That is correct.
So the unified code has already been passed, signed, sealed, delivered.
Correct. The text has already been adopted. It takes effect Friday.
And so this pertains just to relabeling the map.
Correct. It relabels the map to have zoning districts that reflect what is in the text of the code.
So that code was about 2 years worth of input from businesses, from the entity we used. So there's a lot of research went into it.
I've heard a lot of positive feedback about the code, and so I think
It's got a lot more flexibility than we used to have.
It's very user-friendly for residents, businesses.
Okay. Well. So are there any other discussions as far as anybody want to
I'll
make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll call on the city attorney to read
Thank
the
you,
ordinance
Mr. Mayor.
title.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code of the City of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, more specifically adopting a new official zoning map to accompany Chapter 22, Article 10.
So we'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Go to item number 22. consideration of the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2024, 2025. Grant, am I supposed to read these? Okay. And so we'll call on Kimberly Smith, Finance Director, for staff report.
Mayor and Commissioners, items 22A through 22D are budget amendments to appropriate fund balance for prior fiscal year encumbrances for which goods or services will be received or rendered in fiscal year 24-25. The budget amendments will affect the grant fund, the capital improvement fund, the 2018 capital improvement fund, and the insurance recovery fund. This is just moving those funds into the current fiscal year because they were not expended during the prior fiscal year.
Any discussion? It's money we've already had, and we're just moving it from last year to this year. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like a motion to approve item 22.
I'll second the motion.
Motion from Daniel and Mark. Chris? And we'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. On to item number 23, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports. Kimberly's back up.
The sales tax is for September total $2,566,716.41, which includes $4,206 in interest. This revenue is distributed across 8 funds. The receipts in September are from estimated August sales and final sales numbers in July. September 2024 collection are a 0.02% decrease over September of last year. When comparing collections to the conservative budget projections for September, we are 0.90% above projections for the month and 1.14% above collections year to date. Use tax for September totaled $296,227, which is 19.5% below projected collections for the month. When you combine the use tax and the general fund portion of sales tax, the general fund is currently $79,688 below budget projections. On the second to the last page of the report is a sales tax collections comparison chart by month for the last 12 months. This comparison includes Shawnee's, Pierce Cities, Yukon, Ardmore, Muskogee, Bartsville, Stillwater, and Eden. These cities were selected with 3 factors in mind: population, city tax rate revenue, and revenue per 1% sales tax. 4 out of the 7 cities saw an increase in sales tax from August to September. The average increase was 0.8%. However, Shawnee saw a decrease of 3.27% in the sales tax. The last page of the report is a graph that shows the year-over-year sales tax growth by month. It also captures the South Region Consumer Price Index as well as the average year-over-year change for Shawnee sales tax receipts over the last 12 months. 4 of the last 5 months have seen a downward trend when you look at the year-over-year by month. Do you have any questions?
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 24, administrative reports. That's Mr. Markheimer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While Ryan starts the slideshow for me, I'll just start out by saying thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight to you guys about the engineering design manual and standard construction details. As you know, we've been working on the EDM and construction details in parallel with the Unified Development Code. This in its own right is a pretty large document and there's quite a bit of content, so I'll be very brief and try to hit on some of the major elements and really just leave it with you. The goal of tonight's presentation is really to set up the adoption in the future. I think the EDM is a little over 90 pages and the construction details is another 40 pages. So just wanted to provide enough time so you feel like you can really look at it and not feel rushed into a quick decision. The EDM and the details have been published on the UDC webpage for some time now, but we've uploaded them into tonight's agenda packet so you guys can have them as well. So getting into the weeds a little bit, and why we're going through the effort to produce the EDM. The purpose of the EDM is to protect the health and safety and welfare by establishing standard engineering practices and minimum engineering criteria for the city of Shawnee. So that's a lot of words to say. We're trying to consolidate all of our old engineering standard practices into a single manual for people to follow. So looking at the slide, at the top of the page, you'll see a variety of different sources that have been consolidated and modernized into the new EDM. We really don't need to talk about each one of those individually, but if you were looking at it, you would see the old subdivision regulations, our old drainage ordinance, the Chapter 14 flood ordinance, a variety of different ordinances at different dates that we've consolidated and tried to make a little bit user-friendly with the EDM. So general overview of content in the EDM. You have the general process and requirements for submittals. So that's everything from plans to reports and what we expect to see in those plans, reports, the size of the paper, the scale, etc. And again, that's a summary of about 85 pages and 3 sentences. So it basically sets the minimum design criteria for streets, stormwater, water, and wastewater. So for the standard construction details, in addition to the EDM, wanted to speak in detail about that. In years past, the city's had a handful of details, a sheet or two for water, a sheet or two for sewer, maybe a couple of sheets for ADA sidewalks and for street standards and sections like that. So in total, we had probably less than eight or 10 details total. Again, with the new publication, we'll have 40 pages. So it's a lot more in depth than what we're expecting for construction standard details. So it kind of spans everything from typical bedding and trenching to concrete joining details on the streets. Again, quite a bit to review. We just wanted to make sure you guys were aware, and then expect to bring these 2 things back to you for adoption next commission and hear your kind of thoughts on them then. So while I got some time in front of you, I just want to also talk about something that we had thought about bringing before you. That's kind of the end of the EDM construction detail update, but while we're in the process of adopting these new guidelines, I wanted to get the commission's opinion and on plan review and inspection fees. So as we just discussed, we're already doing plan reviews and inspections on public infrastructure projects. And I think you guys know this, but a developer comes into town, they want to build a single-family subdivision or commercial development. They need the public infrastructure to make that development work, regardless of whether that's road, a water main, sewer main, etc. We don't currently have any fees associated with those extensions or expansions to cover staff time. So sure, there's platting fees and building permit fees and land use processes and rezones like we just talked about through the UDC process, but we're currently collecting $0 as it relates to plan reviews and inspections for public infrastructure items. So the engineering department really has no fees. I put a couple of projects up there on the slide, and I'll kind of follow through with that project as we go through here on the next couple of slides. But you can see these are projects that were recently constructed here in town. Heritage Plains being the single-family housing subdivision off North Kickapoo on the west side of Kickapoo, and Marketplace 2 is what you guys think of as the new Maurice's or 5 and Below Supercuts, that small development there. So they both had water, sewer, and roadway associated with those projects, and the engineering department reviewed the plans, was on site almost every day for construction, for inspection throughout, and collected $0 for staff time and or construction inspection, material testing, all the stuff that we do. So first off, wanted to look at what our peer cities are doing. Obviously, that's something you always look at when we're talking about fees and taking and staying competitive in the development world. In short, it varies from city to city. A lot of places do it different. There's a lot of different solutions to this problem. Some of the smaller cities our size and smaller will of course be similar to us and have very little on the books. So I've compiled kind of different solutions from different cities. As you can see, Tulsa, Jinx, Bixby, they all have plan review fees depending on the plan sheet count. So Bixby, for example, is just a straight $50 per sheet for plan reviews, whereas Tulsa has a admin fee of $800 and then it's $350 per sheet for plan reviews. So you start talking about big plan sets, it gets expensive very fast for plan reviews. So Tulsa being kind of on the higher end, Bixby being on the lower end. Then you look at construction inspection. And again, Tulsa and OKC kind of take different approaches. OKC is a straight percentage of construction, whereas Tulsa is a price per day. So they have a chart that they look at for a certain material type and a certain material size that takes this many days to install this many linear feet. They assign how many days they think it's gonna, and then they multiply that times $350 a day. That's your inspection price. Oklahoma City does a straight percentage of construction. On the other hand, Stillwater has a combined fee for plan review and inspection. They do $15 per linear foot of improvement. That's for streets, water, and sewer mains. Again, just looking at those same two projects we're looking at, you can see I picked Bixby, they're the lower end for plan reviews. They would have collected $2,600 on plan reviews. And then you can see OKC would have collected about $66,000 on the Heritage Plan subdivision and inspection fees. Marketplace being a little bit smaller project, their fees would have been less, but still would have been $1,100 in plan reviews and $20,000 in inspection fees. So we're currently doing that stuff. Obviously excluding building permit fees and community development, we're currently doing that without collecting any fees. So looking at what we could bring back before you guys, really just looking to get you guys' opinion here and see what the appetite is to start receiving engineering fees. I'd like to pass a plan review fee, and some of these plan sets are very substantial. And the Bixby fee that we saw that was $50 per sheet is kind of the cheapest one that I've found. So I would think about bringing something $50 or less to you for approval. And then as you can see, the two examples we look on the screen, Heritage Plains was 52 plan sheets, the Marketplace was 23 plan sheets. So as far as construction inspection, like to bring something to you guys that kind of mirrors what Oklahoma City does. It's just a straight percentage of construction. Obviously, in what we would bring to you, we'd probably reduce it a little bit from what OKC is doing, but the vast majority of projects are exceeding $50,000 for the public infrastructure. So they have a tiered chart, but it's tiered to $50,000, and then all of it's 3.5% at $50,000. So for the most part, all of their projects 3.5%. Again, nothing to vote on tonight. I really just wanted to hear you all's thoughts as we look at, starting to try to cover some of this effort on public infrastructure and expansion. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you guys have on the EDM, construction details, and love to hear your thoughts on infrastructure fees moving forward.
I do have one. I looked at all the details on construction. Why don't we use steel in our roads?
You talking about the casing?
Rebar? No, because you don't require any rebar in the concrete.
So, I mean, for the most part, it's because we have a lot of utilities in the street, so cutting it out.
But on the new stuff, we're not putting utilities under the road.
Correct.
So
Correct.
why wouldn't we know steel is a tremendous benefit? It's harder to work on it, but still,
Correct.
I'm just shocked over the years that you don't put it in the roads, and I've got steel in all of my parking lot, but it'll stay together way longer than no steel in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the general answer is, it's twofold. It's more expensive. It lasts longer, to your point.
But you could go to 5 inches and pay for the steel and have a better road.
Depending on your ESAL evaluation, you could. The pavement sections are minimum guidelines. So obviously, and that's another part of the EDM, if you look through there, it's minimum guidelines. So if a developer came in and wanted to do, say, a 5-inch section with reinforcement steel, and they had a geotechnical engineer that would make that recommendation, We could approve that now as a
Okay.
new EDM.
Because the Unified
Because the
Development
new
Code. Yep.
EDM and new UDC, it would allow for that, whereas in the old standard, it was basically use our standard.
This is what you have to do.
This is what you have to use.
So we have
So
flexibility.
we are creating those minimum standards, but we're not necessarily saying that you can't put reinforcing in the road.
That's good. The only other thing on the fees, my take on it is we already have issues with everybody going outside of city limits
Correct.
to build because they don't have to contend with all the cost
Correct.
associated with the city. So are we gonna magnify that problem doing that, would be my question.
I should not snicker over here. A lot of reasons why developers go outside of the city limits is because nobody goes and checks building codes. So property owners who buy outside of the city limits do not have the same guarantee that their buildings are built to the latest and greatest code. So the short answer to your question is probably a few more until property owners or prospective buyers ask the right questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you institute a new fee, that has to be a concern that you talk about, and you kind of have to weigh it against, where you're getting, I mean, right now, we are doing the material testing.
Because we're going from zero to
Zero.
Oklahoma City's rate.
Correct.
Which I think that's a huge jump.
Yeah. There's
All
definitely,
at once.
there's definitely a happy medium in there, if that's what the commission would like to see. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we kind of did the presentation the way we've
Right.
done it tonight, is to try to get
Just get the feel for it.
input from you guys, and then kind of bring that back to you. I think it's warranted to cover staff time, to cover material inspection, to cover this, what we'd like to see done, but your point's well taken.
I have a question on, it's pretty immaterial, but just to make sure I understand it. On the comparison, we talk about a plan review fee of $50 per sheet to align with Bixby, but then on the chart below, Bixby's 2,600 and we're 69,000. Is that a typo, or am I reading that incorrectly?
No, because I put in there the plan review fee and the construction inspection together.
Okay.
So if you look at Bixby at $2,600, and then you look at like what OKC is for construction inspection. See, Oklahoma City doesn't have a straight plan review fee.
Okay.
Bixby doesn't have a similar percent of construction inspection fee. So it's basically the summation of
So if we
those
didn't have
two fees.
the percentage, we'd line up with Bixby.
Do what?
It's immaterial for now.
They have Bixby has an inspection fee rate. Theirs is it's a different formula for
Gotcha.
inspection fees than what I've presented here tonight. They have a flat rate escrow and then a construction inspection.
Gotcha.
based
I was just
on
having
base.
trouble
So
with the math.
they have a formula that was a lot harder to try to explain.
Gotcha, thank you.
Why are the fees for commercial so drastically higher than residential? Am I reading that correctly? Because, I mean, you're looking at revenue of 69,000 for the residential and 22,000 for the commercial. I would think.
That was just a larger project, so it's based on.
Oh, it's just two examples of two different projects?
Two examples of two different projects, yeah.
Okay.
So like the single-family residential had a lot longer stretch of water and sewer main and roadway, whereas Marketplace basically had the small extension of Plaza Drive, the small extension of the water main, the small extension of the sewer main. It's just a function of the size of the project, right? So those two projects are really not apples to apples for a
Got you.
commercial versus single family.
Got
It
you.
was just kind of giving you an example of what fees would be like.
So Heritage Plains, how many lots were in that? You remember?
Off the top of my head, no. I think it was something like 80.
So
I'm not
basically
mistaken.
$1,000 a lot.
Yeah.
So you're
Well,
looking-
275 was the overall preliminary plat, but phase one was much smaller than the overall. And this permit was specifically what was constructed in phase one.
So you're looking less than $1 a foot.
Yeah.
I've got a question on the plan review, $50 per sheet. Is this per sheet of the plans that they turn in for your reviewing,
Only on public infrastructure, right? So don't,
Okay.
like, if you have a commercial building, for example, the example I used was Marketplace.
Okay.
Right, the building plans are still included in the building permit
Okay.
fee. And we're not doing $50 per plan
Right.
sheet for the buildings.
I wanna
This
clarify
is
that.
This is just
specifically
infrastructure.
to public
Right.
infrastructure, right?
Water.
So your sheet count is gonna be much smaller
Sure.
than what you might see on Marketplace. I mean, Marketplace's overall plans would have been 300 pages.
Right.
Right, but like I said a minute ago, Marketplace's plan sheets was like 20-something sheets. I
Yeah.
don't recall, but
Just want to make sure I was hearing that,
yeah,
understanding that
it's
correctly.
just specific to public infrastructure.
Okay.
That's why it's not including, the building permits, it's not including land use fees. I'm strictly looking at public infrastructure. Another thing worth mentioning, you know, when you talk about being competitive, is we're still not gonna be charging any impact fees. So we talked about Oklahoma City's fees, we talked about Stillwater's fees. That's just their construction inspection fees. They also have impact fees that make that number even higher.
I think I would like to see, so it sounds to me the way you're saying that the fees ended up higher on the Heritage Plains was because they were having to add extra infrastructure such as water, sewer, et cetera, because the marketplace already had access to that. So I don't know if there's a way to factor that in, because if we do have someone that wants to, kind of like what Mark said, if we have someone that wants to develop a housing, it's almost like they're not being punished, but kind of financially held responsible for the fact that they don't have the infrastructure that a commercial development that's obviously going to pick a place that has that already. But then, and I understand there are fees with that, but we need to have some kind of incentive that if somebody's willing to build residential homes, we need to, so I don't know how that would look, but that's my understanding correctly.
So if I may interject, there are a lot of infill lots that any developer could go in where water and sewer is readily available, and they would not have to put in any public infrastructure whatsoever, neither roadway, neither water, neither sewer, nor storm drainage. Developers generally like to have a large swath of land, and as Seth was saying, it is around 275 lots overall that were platted, so there's a lot of potential real estate to sell, which makes that public infrastructure investment worth their while. Ultimately, the developers will choose where it is most cost efficient for them to build.
It's a function of the size of the project too, so if Heritage Plains
Sure.
was smaller, I mean, the price would be smaller.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Seth. Number 25, new business, any matter not known or which could not have reasonably been foreseen prior to the posting of the agenda.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Commissioner comments. Start with Daniel.
Sure. First want to say thank you to former Mayor Bolt and former Commissioner Ingalls for their service. It was an honor to serve alongside them, and appreciate all their contributions over the years. And with that, I want to say a very hearty welcome to Mayor Stevens and Commissioner Madsen. Look forward to working with you both in your leadership, and particularly delighted that Mayor Stevens is left-handed. We will always be united in that. And I've known Greta for quite some time and been getting to know Eric over the last few months, and I'm very excited about what you both bring to the commission and your leadership, and looking forward to your success is all of our success, and so excited for that. I do want to commend staff. The audit report was great, and I think it's important to consider that was done under a good bit of transition in that office, and so from Andrea, other staff that helped keep it in going, and I appreciate that, and it didn't go unnoticed. I want to say thank you to Seth. I think that's a great deal and a potential long-term partnership that is to the benefit of our citizens. And so many of us have so many great memories connected to the Christmas parade, and appreciate Seth and all they're doing, and look forward to a continued great relationship. And then one last thing on the tax, or sales tax. I think we continue to see the trend that our friends and neighbors are continuing to have to spend more of their dollars on fixed cost. And when we look at a jobs report that's good and solid, and then we see a tax decrease, to me that always means that those in the middle are feeling the pinch, and they're having fewer dollars to spend at the grocery store, fewer dollars to spend on entertainment, because more of their money is going to fixed cost. And so let's be aware of our friends and neighbors, what they're going through. Currently is we have a little bit of uncertainty in the economy, but I'm proud to say that's what conservative budgeting is for. That's what emergency funding is for, which continues to leave the city in a strong position as reflected in the audit. But look forward to continue to serve with all of you, and it's an honor. Appreciate y'all.
Are we going down the row? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be up here, and having to repeat when we were swearing in and saying it at the exact same time was really difficult. So I feel like we did really well.
Kind of sang a little bit.
That was challenging. So it's all downhill from there, I guess. I'm kidding, but no, I appreciate this opportunity, and I'm excited to serve Shawnee, and I really don't have a whole lot else to say at this point. So that's it.
I think Ashley and I were thinking the same thing when we were sworn in July. It was kind of trying to get that cadence together when you just meet somebody. I wanted to thank David for coming up and talking about some of the things coming up in Shawnee. I do look forward to our monthly and emails that we get that kind of say what's going on. There's a lot of great things. Shawnee is a great place to raise your family. He brought his family here, and his mother-in-laws and his mother, so that says something, you know. I'm trying to get my mom to move back to Shawnee, so. And finally, I'd like to welcome Greta and Mr. Mayor Eric, and look forward to working with everybody here and seeing what we can do, so. Thank you.
I would just like to say welcome. We're excited to have both of you here.
Thank you.
You had made mention to the elite only serving on boards in Shawnee, and I just wanted to say I'm definitely not an elite of Shawnee, and I work really hard from sun up to sundown. I'm a nurse, I'm a school administrator, and I understand what it's like to be middle class, and I just want you to know that we have people that are serving in Shawnee in various roles. I have lots of friends that serve in various roles, so I just wanted to make mention to that. And we had a big group here tonight. I think it's an exciting time for Shawnee, and the $10 cat still stands if you change your mind.
My turn, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to welcome Greta and Eric, because I think they'll be a good addition to it. I want to thank Ed and Tammy and Darren. You know, over the last 6 years, we got a lot of stuff done from the standpoint of water, wastewater, parks. It's just, we can go on and on and on. The other thing, I think it's kind of the passing of the guard. Everybody up here is considerably younger than me. To where, and I think that's neat because the next generation has to figure out what they want their city to look like. So, yeah, I welcome ideas from all of y'all, and I think it'll be easy to work with. Sales tax, you know, I keep reading stuff into that. You know, what we don't see, and I'd like to probably kind of look at is prior to the tornado a couple of years ago, we're probably way up from what it was then. You know, so the spike we saw last year could be a lot of damaged stuff. I mean, just like maybe I had some buildings tore up, and, you know, we're finally finished redoing all of those. But that, just like the stuff Shawnee had, it's a long-term deal, but a lot of it got done real quick. And I think that's some of the spikes we saw in sales tax. And then you start reading into how many people took trips this year instead of, with COVID, everybody stayed home. So I think there's a lot of stuff we're reading into it. I think the economy is relatively healthy, but only time's going to tell. But the blessing is we've kind of set stuff in place that we have plenty of reserves set aside, and we're in good financial shape, so the auditor said. So that's about all I got.
Fellow lefty, so again, welcome that board.
3 out of 7.
Yeah.
Almost.
We're tipping that percentage out of its way. I want to welcome the new members, and one piece of advice I could give you, just being 2 years in, is to give yourself some grace as you learn the things. Each time, it feels like you're going to drink from a fire hose. That's probably not the first time you've heard that phrase or the last. And so just give yourself some grace, be open for learning new things, and everyone's gonna have questions to ask you and answers for you even in some cases, and just take it all in as much as you can, and it's a great learning experience if nothing else, and it's a great way to serve. So I'm happy for you guys to be here. And I'm excited for the Christmas parade. I'm glad that we get to have that this year in the same ways that we've had in years before. And like others have said, it's a tradition that I'm glad we get to save and we get to be a part of, and I look forward to Seth putting on a great show for us there, and that's kind of all I have. That's all I got between me and Daniel to think of.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that voted in this election, in the primary and the runoff. And this has been one of the most humbling and rewarding things I've ever done in my life, and I'm really, really excited and happy to be up here. With that being said, 4 out of 7 of us are new. So we're going to ask you to please let us get our feet under us. We're going to try as hard as we can, I promise you that. It's going to take us a little bit, especially, I'm going to speak for myself. I've been reading phone books lately, and it is really a lot to absorb. I felt like Cindy was speaking directly to me earlier when she was up here speaking. I'm 100% not an elite in town. I'm a blue-collar guy. I've been a plumber my whole life. I'm willing to work myself to the bone to do whatever we need to do to make this all happen. And I know everybody up here is probably of the same mindset. I think we're a good group up here, and again, I would just humbly ask that give us a little bit of time. We'll get this thing going sooner rather than later. And with that, I think that's all I've got. So, item number 27, adjournment. So do we gavel out and then go to the airport? Okay, so I adjourn. Then we'll reconvene item number 2 at the airport authority, correct? And so we ask for new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And then item number 3 is adjournment of the airport authority. So we reconvene in the municipal authority, correct?
Oh,
Item number 2, new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, we are adjourned.
Really?
That's it.